Welcome to MadLit Musings, the podcast where you get to eavesdrop on your favorite authors without getting caught. I've been stoked to have authors like Angela Hunt, Bill Myers, Nicole Deese, Tessa Afshar, comedian Bob Smiley, and more on the show, and this year I have another great lineup of storytellers and truth-sayers. If you love to eavesdrop at coffee shops like I do, this is the podcast for you. It's where we get real, we get tough, we laugh, and we might even cry. It's where we meet authors on a different level, where every story and podcast episode has its own heartbeat. So hang out with me today. I'm Jaime Jo Wright, your host at MadLit Musings. This is your podcast for real chats with real authors about real life. All right. Hi, everyone. It is Jaime Jo Wright here at MadLit Musings, and today I'm joined by two special guests. One, Robin Jones Gunn. Hi, Robin.
Hello, hello.
One of my favorite people in the world is my daughter, and this is Chloe. If you are listening and not watching, she's sitting next to me, so you can hit us up at our YouTube channel if you want to see her face. But this is Chloe, and she is going to take over the podcast today because she and Robin are going to talk about the Christy Miller series, and Chloe's fresh off of reading those in the last year, and this is pretty cool. So we had to start the podcast because we've been talking for about 2 minutes and I have already launched.
Yeah.
So, Chloe, this is your podcast, my love.
It is.
Take it away.
It is. Okay, so before we started, we were talking about Rick Doyle and how hateable of a character he was. Because the thing is his character in general he would be fine for the right girl, but not Christy. That poor girl was just too innocent, too oblivious, too like, oh, I'll do whatever you want. And he was too, well, I'm gonna get my way and you're gonna do what I want. It doesn't work.
Apparently not. You have to read the whole series to see that.
I had a bad feeling about him from the start. I was like, he hasn't done anything yet, but no.
See, you have good discernment. That's really good. And that's what I was hoping, because the Christy Miller series started because my husband was a youth pastor. The girls in the youth group were reading all these books that I was very concerned about. They were putting messages in their young hearts that they're 13 years old, and the books they got from the library even were just like so evocative, and their mom didn't know what they were reading. They just liked to read. So those girls challenged me and said, well, then why don't you write books for us and we'll tell you what to write. So we're talking about now with Chloe, the characters being so likable or unlikable based from a teenager's point of view, because those characters were created by the teen girls in my youth group. And they told me what to write, and they told me what they liked or didn't like. I'd read chapters to them, and they'd just take everything out that didn't work and describe everything they wanted to be added in. So it's a God thing all the way across the board, but that's why the series has turned out to be timeless, because every single teenage girl feels the same way in those years. And that's what the books really center on.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the cool thing too is you didn't have anything too like early like 2000s, kind of when you were like writing the book, like in that area where it's like kind of like if you didn't grow up in this time, you're going to be confused about the things. It's very general and it just goes along and along.
I love the fact you said that they were written in the 2000s.
I do too.
Well, I know it was.
Did you catch that, Robin?
No, I know it was a little bit before that. I know. I was just saying like early, like the 2000, like early.
Early enough for your mom to have read them too when she was.
That is
when I was in high school in 2000.
I know, it's crazy, but this is the thing, because the biggest difference is all the online stuff now that wasn't there when I was writing them, or the cell phones. And I remember being at this conference and a bunch of girls came up and they were all reading the Christy Miller books, and I said, I just have a question for you. Like, you're talking about these books as if they're still relevant to you today, and the books are still selling, so somebody's buying them. And I said, did it ever bother you that Christy didn't have a cell phone? And all these girls looked at me and they go, Are you kidding? Have you met her parents? Like she's
Well,
15 and 14 in the first book. Like, no, they wouldn't have let that. So that's kind of amazing that slid right through the whole series that, you know,
well, I mean,
characters had to like talk to each other face to face.
right. And I mean, I think too, even just being a part of like a lot of book community things, I've heard so many people say that they hate when there are like multiple mentions of phones in a book. It's like we want to be detached from the real world. We don't need to be talking about all these different social media apps.
I like that. Yeah.
So it's like we don't.
Changes so quickly. You can't put anything in there and think it's
Oh,
still going to
right.
be relevant 5 minutes from now.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, question for you, Chloe, since I'm sitting here as your mom.
Oh.
What did you think when I first told you that you really needed to read this series that I read when I was in high school? What were like your first thoughts?
I was like, you want me to read? You don't even know me. But then you kept going about it, and I was like, okay, it takes place on the beach. How bad can it be?
Right.
Oh, I'll try it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I'm bored. I don't know what to do. Well, let's just say I was not bored for a very long time.
And I happen to know that your mom told me you went to the Robin Gunn shop online and got the posters of the beach and everything to put in your bedroom. I love
Yes.
She's got the beach posters. She's
Like
got
all
the
of 'em.
Christy Miller mug that she
it.
uses for her coffee, and I feel like there's other stuff too. I'm not sure.
No.
Oh, was that it?
No, I think that's
I
it.
think that might be it, but
Yeah. I got the whole set of posters. I was like, we're going all out here.
yes.
I love it.
Her whole bedroom is aloha Hawaii
Beach
waves,
theme.
and so Christy just kind of fit right into all of that.
Well, I
too.
felt like Christy in so many ways was such like a relatable character too. Like all the characters, like they felt real. Like they were like real people. Did you base them off of real people?
I did draw from the girls in our youth group that were
Yeah.
helping me with the books, but I drew from my own memories. I kept journals and diaries, so I dug those out of a box and I read all my diaries I started in sixth grade.
Okay.
So I was like 12 years old, 13. How old are you in sixth grade? 12 years old? And I read all those and all of those feelings and the way that kind of angst that you just start dealing with.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is my grandma was in her 80s when I finished the very first book.
Okay.
And I gave it to her because she was so curious and she read it just on, you know, it was just copies of the pages. And she handed it back to me and said, "This story is exactly like it was when I was a teenager. Exactly." And I thought, okay, Grandma, you're 88 and you grew up in Iowa. And how could it be that these stories set at Newport Beach, California, about a contemporary girl, but then she explained it to me. Every teenage girl feels this. Every teenage girl wants these things. They want friends. They want to fit in. They want to stop feeling so awkward and clumsy and not knowing the right thing to say. And so that's, I don't know, that's when I knew that I needed to keep writing
Yeah.
about those kinds of things, because when I started the second book in the series, this is interesting because your mom's a writer, Chloe, so there's writing and rewriting. I
Yeah.
wrote almost all the second book, and the editor looked at it before it was finished and said, no, 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 start over. Because I decided I was going to have Christy have all these problems, and everyone was telling me books have to have these big, like maybe her parents are getting divorced, or maybe she has an eating disorder, or maybe like these boys are harassing her, she's getting bullied at school. And it was like I ruined Christy because all these things were too much. And it's like your friends were saying, I want to escape. I want to read about the possibility of what my life could be like,
Yeah.
or vicariously live through her. So that book is long gone.
Yeah.
I kind of went with my grandma's advice. It
Yeah.
worked.
I think to a certain extent, like having a real world problems in there are so fun because you have somebody that you can like relate to if you're going through a similar thing. But when it gets overpowering, where it's just thing after thing after thing, it's almost like, oh, there will never be an end to this for me because there wasn't an end to this for her, type of
That's
thing.
well said. It's true. All the hope is gone. You're like, I have to live this. I don't want to read about it too.
Yeah, and I mean, to a certain extent, like it can be fun to read about those things, even if you're going through it, because it's almost like you have somebody that you can relate to. You can read about it. And it's like it's fake, so you're reading about it in a fake way. You don't have to talk about it with people, but you still feel like you're getting that way to process it. But
Yeah.
having that, I guess, light at the end of the tunnel is really good too, because it shows like the way out of it and how like you can like go through whatever it is that you're going through and still come out fine at the end.
You just kind of sprinkle it through the books, or let her friends have the eating disorder, which is what
Right.
happened in the second book. And then Christy gets to learn from that.
Yeah.
Or a friend who's making really bad choices, and Christy kind of gets sucked in, but then not all the way. And yeah, so you kind of feel for her.
Right. Yeah. No, I thought just the books, they were just everything about them was so well written. Like all of the characters were so well written. There were so many things that were so relatable in all of it. It was just honestly so amazing to read that and feel honestly like everything was real, like it had actually happened.
Good, because I feel that way too. My kids have said, Mom, when you're like in the nursing home and you've lost your mind, we're going to come see you. And you'll go, Oh, Todd, Christy, you've come to see me. You have real children too.
Well,
Yeah, it'll be scary when the fictionalized characters become the ones that you remember.
No.
Yes. Oh, okay. So I have to interject because I'm a talker and I always have questions. I have to ask both of you.
okay.
Who was your favorite boy character?
Todd.
Todd, instantly. Yeah. I'm just curious. Was Todd your favorite too, Robin? Because mine was always Doug. I don't know why. I was a Doug girl, Team Doug, all the way.
Anyway, you married a copycat of Todd.
I did. We won't go there.
Yes, yes. Well, as book mama, as you know, Jamie Joe, you try not to play favorites, but because everybody has their ups and downs and goods and bads and stuff. But here's what's interesting, and I had been leaning toward Doug, so that, as you know, Chloe, by the end of the series, and Todd is so non-committal. He's off to surf in Hawaii in this competition, and will Christy ever see him again? And Doug is right there. He's like the forever friend, giving Doug hugs to everybody. And you start to kind of see this. Oh, Christy, he's a lot more reliable, and he's a lot more stable, and he loves the Lord in a really genuine way. And so we had a we had a college girl that was living with us. We did this often over the years of youth ministry. And Wendy, the college girl that was living with us, I had her reading pages as I was working on book, I don't know, 11. There's 12 in the high school series, so it was, toward the end. And she saw which the direction I was going. And she just sat me down like an intervention, and she goes, No, not Doug. We can't like Doug this much. We already know who we like. We've already made the decision. We're just waiting for him to realize how great Christy is and come to his senses. Like, leave Todd, give us some more hope about Todd. And that was whatever book that Christy gets this coconut sent to her from Hawaii that has Phil 1:7, which is Philippians 1:7, I hold you in my heart. And that turned everything around, so that kind of still played with it like maybe Doug was in there, but that's when I knew that, according to Wendy, Todd had to.
Oh yeah. 100%.
We're giving away the end of the series, but I think.
Well, it was funny though when Chloe was
Yeah.
reading. I had walked into her room and I don't remember the exact circumstances, but I said something about like, and I was teasing her, but I was like, just wait till you get to the part where Christy and Doug become an item forever.
Oh my gosh.
And Chloe just about lost it. She goes, "What? No!"
No, this can't be it. No.
That was pretty.
You and Wendy would have been arm in arm at that point, like picketing in front of my house.
I knew from the first book. Well, to be fair, I had looked up the books, so obviously I saw like Christy and Todd. I was like, oh, they end up together.
Yeah.
Even if I hadn't, from the first book, I knew it was always Todd.
I mean, that is true because the continuing series are Christy and Todd the college years, Todd the marriage years, Christy and Todd the baby years. So kind of gives it away.
Poor Doug.
Well, he got Tracy, and
Tracy
and Doug were always endgame.
Good.
Yes.
That's true.
And I really, you know what, I cried when I wrote that scene when they were in England together. And it was just that deep friendship of Christy, like stepping aside because she could see this is what is right for Tracy. And for Tracy to reveal, like, all along, I didn't want to say anything.
Right.
You know, it kind of harkened back to those feelings we've all had reading like Pride and Prejudice, and it's like it's right there, like, so the readers are know more than the main characters, and the readers are going, come on, and then it happens, and you go, okay, all along I knew it, just like you're saying, Chloe. Come on.
Well, and I think half the reason, like, I knew is like I feel like personality-wise, in so many ways, me and Christy are so similar. And for me, it was always Todd. So it's like, oh, well, then it has to be Todd. There's just no other way.
Because opposites do attract.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah. I don't know. I think, yeah.
So are you looking for your Todd? Yeah.
No, I think, like, just in so many ways, like, if it wasn't Todd, it wouldn't have worked. I don't know. I think I would have finished it and been like, oh. Like, honestly, like, almost disappointed.
Well, you know, we started talking about Rick, and that's why I put that character in there, because for a while, Christy was like, he's got it all together, and he really cares about me, and he says the sweetest things, and I wanted to show girls, because I saw it happening in front of my eyes with the kids in our church group, like, that guy is playing you, but you're too young and sweet and innocent to even know. And so I'm going to set up this character so that the readers will start to go, oh, okay, so the really, you know, the guys that seem so attracted to me or are saying all the right things, like they're using their words like to draw me in. And maybe I should think for myself instead of what they're telling me, because it started with Rick saying, oh, you really look good in red, I really like that, and then Christy starts wearing that color all the time, you know. So just to kind of play that out. And I've heard a lot from readers who said, thank you for putting Rick in there because he helped me. I'm sitting back watching it play out with Christy, and I find myself saying, Christy, don't fall for it. And then I go and I'm with this guy that is doing this. He's saying the same lines as Rick, and I have fallen for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think, like, that's the thing is, like, I did not like Rick. Like, that's one area where me and Christy are different because I saw right through Rick from the very beginning. But I knew, like, he had to happen. Like, there had to be that.
Yeah.
Like, really, with Christy's personality, in so many ways, it was like she had to have that learning experience to realize, like, don't fall for guys like this.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's so relatable for so many people, like you were saying, where it's so easy because these guys will say all the right things, they'll do all the right things, but then once you start getting closer to them or letting them in, then they start slowly doing the wrong things or trying to get you to do things that you shouldn't be doing or pushing your boundaries, things like that. And it's so easy to fall for it, especially when people like Rick, like they go to church, they're in that kind of leadership position at church. Yeah. So you just automatically think, oh, they're okay, they're safe. I can trust them. And then it's like, but can you? And that's the thing. That's why you have to be so careful.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Uh-huh. So as a mom, I love these books because they're teaching my daughter all these lessons that, you know, as a mom, you may not listen to me. But if you hear it from Christy, it makes sense. But I was the same way. I remember that in high school. There was a boy in our youth group, I probably never told you this,
Oh, so it wasn't.
Oh, he was a Rick. He was a Rick. He could sing. He was on the worship team, and he would come up and be like, of course, this was back in the 1900s. He'd come back and he'd be like, he'd put his shoulder up against you, go, "Hey, pumpkin," and just all these cutesy little things.
Nuh-uh, red flag.
Yeah, well, no, the little heart flutters start, and he was really good looking. And then I remember very distinctly, I read about Rick, and I was just like, I will never forget. He came up to me and he did that. He goes, "Hey, pumpkin." And I don't know what look I had on my face, but I looked at him and I was like, "Not today." And he goes, "Oh." And I got the nickname the Ice Queen after that.
Well, I tell you what,
I was just like, "I'm done. No players."
Yeah. Katie would have been really proud of you.
Yes, well.
Katie saw through him at the beginning,
Yeah.
And then we keep reading about Katie, and then Katie has her own blind spot too. So I had tangled stuff in my high school years that it was easy to write about all those feelings, but just to redirect it so that the characters have a best friend who speaks truth to them, or that they kind of realize. And I just, yeah, I'm so glad that I don't know. That was a good thing for both of you when you reading the book. But then, like, let's multiply that over by how many girls could have gotten in really painful relationships if they hadn't read the books. And that's why I'm always like, "Mom, Grandma, buy these books for your teen." And it's so hard to try to express. No, really, they're timeless. They'll really help your teen, that young heart.
Right.
Don't you feel that way too, Chloe? It's like it's your heart that needs protecting. Yeah.
I think so many like girls especially, they give their heart away so easily.
Yes.
And then it just gets crushed into a million pieces. Like it's so easy to do because people act so trustworthy, but then the second they have their heart, just break it.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
So, what's one of the biggest, maybe spiritual lessons that you might have taken away from reading the Christy Miller series?
Gosh, I don't even know. There were just so many good lessons and everything. It's so hard to pick like one. And like the one that, oh gosh, I don't even remember what it was, but this is the one that like stood out to me the most. It was something about like, and Todd said this to Christy. Oh gosh, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was like an island or like a light being heaven, and you're kind of drifting. I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was something like that, like kind of in like the middle. That one really is like the one that mainly stuck out to me. Or yeah, that's the right word. Okay.
That was probably an Island Dreamer when they were,
I think
Lanai, and they're looking out at Molokai and they see just a few lights. And it's like, how do you know God's will? And how do you know? Because this big ocean between these two islands, but you can see the little pinpoints of light. And that was based on my in-laws owned a condo on Maui forever, and we would go all the time. And every night after sunset, you could see just these couple of lights on the shore at Molokai, and just those feelings of all those sailors could do is just keep going toward the light. Just head toward what you know to be true.
Right, yeah. No, but there were so many like good lessons in that. It was just so like, it wasn't overpowering, which I really enjoy. Like I love that. Like it's like okay, I'm a very strong Christian, but I hate when books are like so almost overpowering. It's like every single sentence is talking about God. Like I want a little bit of like, I want other stuff in there too, But you did such a good job of making that such a big focus, but not the main focus to where it was overwhelming. Where I feel like even non-Christians could read it and still enjoy the book.
Yeah, and I have heard from a lot of girls who just really like the drama of it or the characters, and they're like, I don't know what I believe yet, but this is helping me understand what my Christian friends believe, and I'm making, to be honest, better choices about what I do in high school because of them. It's like, okay, that's pretty great. But also just that favorite parts of it, some of them were things that people said to me or that that stuck with me in that era. And do you remember the part, Chloe, where they're making fun of this girl, and I don't know what they were calling her or something, but my real life situation was my girlfriend and I were talking about this girl that this other guy that I really liked. We're like 10th grade, but this other guy really liked this girl, and she wore so much makeup, and so we called her Cake Face, and we were like, oh yeah, there's Cake Face again, Yeah. And somebody else heard us, and they go, who are you talking about? And we're like, that girl that this guy likes. And this other girl just looked at us and said, well, God made her face. You should never make fun of anything God makes. And we were just,
yeah.
no more, like, we're the bride of Christ. Don't diss on the bride. Like, don't put down other people. And that made such an impact on me. So it had to come up in the book at some point.
Yeah. Well, and I love too how we kind of like what you were just saying, you didn't make Christy to be like the perfect character, like the perfect Christian. You add like so many flaws in her that I think so many people have that just really helped add to her being like such a relatable character, going through so many things, making so many like wrong choices even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrong, and yet that's what I learned. It couldn't be disastrous choices because the series would have been all over, or the readers would have been, oh, Christy, I was cheering for you, and you came right up to that moment. And it's so much more like real life when you're faced with all these choices and the struggles, and you come right up to it, and you're like, yeah, no. Even if it makes me look ridiculous to my friends. And so the readers start cheering more and more for Christy in each book as she's struggling, and then they go into their own lives and find their own situations and go, hey, if Christy could do it, I can
Right, yeah.
do it.
Well, that reminds me too, because Chloe started reading the books, and then she got her cousin reading the books.
Oh, yeah.
And then I kept hearing them in their rooms, like they'd be on video, FaceTime or something, and they'd be like, oh my goodness, it was such a Christy moment.
Oh, no, literally. So she started kind of like dating unofficially this guy, and like their whole meeting thing was like, it was such a Christy Miller thing. Like it was like straight out of Christy Miller. And then
Christy moment.
it turned out to be kind of like a Rick. Oh, I need to tell her that.
Yes, you do. Go back and like Rick.
But now she's on a Todd situation type thing where it's like the whole building up and then they're finally starting to realize.
Yeah.
So it's
fun. It's fun. It's fun to hear the girls going, what a Christy moment. And like nobody around them necessarily knows. They're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, well, there's these books. You really have to read.
The one thing that always gets us going is I don't remember which book this was in, but it was when Todd got the offer to be like a missionary. And then he told Christy, you need to grow up.
Yeah, somebody told that to me when I was like 16 or 17, and I didn't forget it apparently. I know, because I thought I was like on the same level as they were, and I was just kind of like, well, this is what I feel about that, and this is how I think. And we were just like, well, you just need to grow up.
I was like, first of all, that did not seem like Todd's necessarily character throughout all of it, but then I was like, okay, let's be honest here, because in a lot of ways, like I can also kind of like relate to Todd in so many ways of processing emotions, things like that. Like I almost feel like in a lot of ways I tend to relate more to guys with how they process their emotions and things of just holding it all in, not talking about it, pretending it doesn't exist, or pushing people away. So it's like that's exactly what he's doing. He realizes he's gonna do this, but he can't leave knowing everything's perfect between him and Christy because he's gonna miss her too much. He has to put some sort of barrier between them.
That's very good insight. Yeah. And almost like he has to rationalize to himself why this is the right timing for him to leave, because maybe he's even thought that through. Like, well, she's just really younger than me, and she has to kind of finish high school before we can get really serious. And so it's like, well, you just need to grow up. But it's like as much for him to feel like,
right,
for me to move forward with you, we have to be kind of a little more at the same place.
Yeah. And even just the whole, well, I'm gonna leave, so we can't be super close, because then it's like, it's gonna hurt more. If I'm the one, and this is how I am, if I'm the one that put something between us, then at least, then I know what happened. But then also in some way it's easier.
I think so, because you have your reason.
Right. And you were the one who like chose to do it, I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
No.
Very good, Chloe. Well done.
Well, this has been so much fun. We could probably talk for hours, but is there anything else that was just like, I have to ask Robin this?
Oh, I don't even know.
But would you say to anybody listening that they should get this for their teenage girl?
Read the books.
Okay.
I don't care how much you hate reading. Read the books. Please.
My new campaign manager.
I was just gonna say,
I love you, Chloe. Sit down, shut up, read the book.
I don't care how much you hate reading. Just read the books.
I will get you into reading, I promise.
Oh, Robin. And did you want to ask Chloe anything else, Robin, before we close?
Well, did I don't know if we've talked about this, Chloe, but have you read the 2 books that I wrote with Tricia Goyer, which are nonfiction? They're devotionals, and it's Praying for Your Future Husband and Before You Meet Your Future Husband.
I don't think I have. No.
Okay. Well, here's why those would be good, especially as you get a little older and older, because I mean, they could be read by 13-year-olds, and that's great. Even though it seems like my future husband, I haven't even had a boyfriend yet. But Tricia and I wrote them together because we both had the same heart for, it's one thing to write fiction and show these characters and how it plays out for them, but it's more important that we give practical tools in a study, a devotional, and then Tricia and I wrote them so that we could use them with the girls that we were meeting with, the high school groups. And I mean, it really was so clear when the Lord invited us to write those books that this was the next step after reading the novels. Here's the parables. Now here's the details of and direction as you pray that God will lead you to whatever He has. In both books, it's like the point is you're preparing your heart for whatever God has for you. So, publishers, you got to get that future husband in there to grab it in the title.
Yeah.
I think people are kind of like, I'm not ready for that, but it really is a devotional process for you to really be drawing closer and closer to the Lord. So I hope you read those.
I want to. Yeah, we'll have to.
We will definitely get those for you. And I remember I was reading the Christy books. My friend and I were teenagers, and there was, obviously you hadn't written those books yet because you just recently came out with those. But I remember getting a diary, and instead of writing a diary, I started writing letters to the person that I would marry someday, because I wanted to remind myself that no matter what relationship I was ever in, that there was somebody I would marry, Lord willing. And I always wanted to have him in my brain so that I wouldn't have to tell him things that I regretted. And so by writing to him all these letters, I felt like I was developing a relationship with him before I ever met him. And I vowed I would never write a name down. Like, even if I had a massive crush on somebody, I wasn't going to ruin it and say, I think I've met you or anything like that. I was just going to write these letters. And then when we got married, the day we got married, I gave him a book and I said, I've been writing you for quite some time.
I love it, Jamie Jo.
So, I mean, I only say that to put an exclamation point to the books. Like, I started writing that when I was 15. but it is that you are at that age, your heart's starting to prepare
Yeah.
for where God's going to take you, and having that relationship with the Lord, and also having your mind set on God has someone that he's created for me. So even if this crush I have doesn't work out or whatever, it can only get better.
Mm-hmm.
So I love those books. And we'll get you those books.
I was going to say too, like I've seen so many people, like even some of my friends, they'll really like this guy. And then I'll get texts from them being like, I really hope he likes me. What if he doesn't like me? I'm like, you'll be fine. Like, if he doesn't like you, there's somebody else. Like, you are an amazing person. Somebody else is out there for you. If it isn't him, it'll be somebody better. And my friends will be like, but I want it to be him. I'm like, but if it isn't, you're not going to be upset that it isn't him.
Yeah.
Because whoever you find is going to end up being better.
Mm-hmm. So maybe what we should do is get these books and do a Bible study this fall or something with your friends.
We should.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe Robin could join us by video or something.
Please, 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 please. I would love it.
Super fun. That would be super fun.
Yeah.
So what are the names of those books too for listeners? Just make sure they hear what those are.
Mm-hmm. The first one I think you should start with is Before You Meet Your Future Husband. And it's 30 prayers.
Okay.
I forgot the subtitle already. That's
easy.
Terrible. Anyway, but Trisha Goyer, Goyer, and I wrote both the books together. And then the second one is Praying for Your Future Husband. And we actually wrote the second one first, and then we knew that we needed kind of a prequel because there had to be something that was just really entry level. And that's what Before You Meet Your Future Husband. It's like you don't even know what your future is about. And you shouldn't. You should be just focused on who God's really developing you to be. But so many girls in that kind of pocket, hey, I'm 14, I should have a boyfriend by now. Or so it's like before you even before you even meet your future husband, here's the things that you could be working on in your life. And then praying for your future husband, which is I've received so many great letters from girls that it changed their lives, because as they started going through that, they realized they were headed the wrong direction. They were focusing on the wrong things in their relationship. And like you said, Jaime, you wrote the writing letters to your future husband, which is something I did and which Christy does in the books. And just that sort of having everything so that you're thinking the right direction. Because if you're here and you start like this a little bit when you're in high school, suddenly you're like way, and the Lord's going, I want you over here. So that's the objective. So before you meet your future husband, praying for your future husband.
Love it.
That's amazing.
Robin, this has been super fun. And it's been fun to see you and Chloe connect. And like, look at the generations here, because I didn't get to just get my Kindle out and read all Christy books in one setting. I had to wait for them to get published. That was agony.
Oh, and they're in audiobooks now, so girls who don't like to read can just listen to them.
Yeah.
There you go. And now we need to have some sort of TV series.
Yes, we've been working on that for a long time.
Yes. You agree with Chloe?
I would be the number one fan.
Yeah.
I call dibs.
You call dibs. Yes.
I'm the number one fan. It hasn't even happened yet, but I'm already the number one fan of the TV show. Unless they completely ruin it, then
they won't ruin it. No. Well, Robin, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Chloe, you're amazing. I'm so glad we got to do this, and I just love your heart.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap for today here at MadLit Musings. I hope you join us again. And if you want to, be sure you like and subscribe here at your favorite podcast player or on YouTube, because you won't want to miss all the wonderful alerts that let you know when we have another conversation for you to eavesdrop on.